All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. This is That's the Auspex podcast, season 6, episode 2. We're right back from Highlander 2019, and boy, did two of us have a time. I sat there and I watched some cameras, so I was reasonably entertained. But good lord, we have the best overall winner.
There was a thing this weekend?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. I know you blacked out, but
Yeah, you got chauffeured there and chauffeured out.
we got best overall winner Thurston Hillman with us, one of our regular hosts, and we've got
The Ring.
Fabio, the admin, the ringer, who actually got out and play for some of these events. That was a blast.
I'll sign autographs later.
Yeah, and I watched some cameras, so that was a time. We've got a heck of a show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about Highlander. We're going to be talking about some of the stuff coming out of Adepticon that happened over the same weekend, which we hear was a thing. And Planes of War is coming up. It is always advancing. So, yeah, we're going to be hyping that a little bit too. So first things first, Thurston.
Hi.
How was your Highlander experience?
Super awesome. I went into this year kind of saying, gonna do some finishing touches on the Nurgle Demons. I mean, I've been ribbiting for like the last 2 months now.
Yeah.
And it was really good. I got 3 excellent games. Can't say enough about my opponents. Even two of them were from Brandon. It's Ryan. No, Ryan's not from Brandon. He's from here.
Ryan Block is not from
No. So 2 from Brandon. So even with that, I mean, it was still good games. I love you guys in Brandon, I swear. But yeah,
Not as much.
just like a great time. What really struck me about this year was just the quality of armies that showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm something of a hobby elitist in some cases, so seeing like not bare plastic was like great.
Yeah.
Like just like everything was generally at a really good quality. This year we kind of switched things up and sort of had that metric for rate your opponent sportsmanship and then rate their army. And one thing that I always found that I did with my opponents, because I am like a terrible judge when it comes to like a whole event, so I'll always ask my opponent, like, where do you think you scored on your army? And like that will be like kind of a discussion point I'll have, like, okay, like this metric is here. Like a lot of people believe in that, like, I'm a score 5 and 5 because my opponent was great and I'm not even going to read these things. I'm like, well, when it comes to army, like, there are metrics in that little box, and one of the things I would ask my opponents was, where do you think you scored out of 5? And all my opponents universally gave themselves a score less than I would have given them, and I'm like, no, that's, what are you doing? No. So it was really curious to see that, but it's like the quality of some of those armies was great. So
That airbrushed Knights team, like that was black base with the flames going on the carapace.
yeah.
Oh. Cool.
Alex's orcs are okay, I guess.
Yeah, they might have. There's
won
results,
some,
something.
like,
we're
yeah.
Gonna have results screens for you in a bit. Fabio, you got to play. You actually got to roll dice on a horizontal service. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Well, it was great. I was the ringer, so naturally, my first game I got to play the odd man out, who was Corey with his orcs, which I guess all 3 of my games were great. I hadn't played any of played against any of the armies for quite some time, so it was good. It was so I had to play Corey. He had me pinned in up until the bottom of the last turn, and I got to use my Veil of Darkness to pull off my win. So I got to deny him some points. So Corey, I'm sorry. He played a really good game, and God, it doesn't matter how many you shot off the table, those orcs just kept coming. It was freaking annoying, but it was good. I actually played Brendan, who I've only seen around very recently. He's newer to the game, which was great. I got to hang out with him for a couple hours. He plays Necrons as well.
Nice.
So what the hell was, for segue here, what the hell was up with 4 Necron players at this goddamn event?
Mono Codex, we have a chance. Go for it.
I mean, no word of a lie. The Necron players, and again, we're going to have the stat screen up in a moment, we're tied with Astra Militarum and like one other faction for most represented.
Yeah, most represented. So anyway,
awesome.
So it was actually crazy because despite the fact I play Necrons, I've never played against Necrons. So, God, Wraiths are annoying.
Correct.
I wouldn't have known.
So yeah, when Brendan's dice were super hot all game on his Wraiths, so they were staying alive. Mine got decimated in the first turn. So I was like, this is gonna be good. And then at the end, it was really funny. It was like turn 4 or top of 5 or something. I shot a bunch of stuff into his wraiths. He had one left with one full wraith left, so it's 3 wounds. And I was like, oh shit, he's gonna spend 2 command points, reanimation protocol. He's gonna get like maybe 2 back, and I'm gonna be like, I'm running out of models, so this is gonna just be bad. So I charge in a squad of 5 immortals, fix bayonets, boys, get 3 wounds. He rolls 3 ones. He command points, rolls another 1. He loses the last wraith. It was the craziest thing ever. So it was really cool. So again, it was a really good game. Again, I was just there to make them work for their points. And I'll touch on that later. So don't let me forget. But and then I got to play Christian Girling and Space Wolf. So again, another army doesn't actually come around very often. And so I got to play a guy that I've never played against. Yeah. And B, an army that I didn't know anything about. So again, it was great. Like just kind of shot the shit at the bottom with guys that are having maybe not the best days, but I got to honestly play 3 guys that I've never had a chance to chat with, and so it was really good. It was awesome just getting to hang out and chill and roll some dice. So overall, it was great. It was interesting being on the side of a player. So I have a few different looks at things now.
What are some of those?
First, okay, so I don't like the ETC missions. Yeah, I don't like the cards. I think there's a way to break down those missions to their most common form, like objectives and kill points and stuff like that. Yeah. But remove the randomness of the cards, because I found the cards you could stall out, or the cards could just have really clunky swings. Yeah. And it's not so much that the players are doing enough to achieve lots of points. It's just that some are getting lucky and getting the best layout of cards in that turn, and the other guy's just kind of stuck spinning his tires. Thankfully we had 3 different ways to get rid of cards. One, free discard at the start of the turn to draw another, a discard at the end of the turn, an unachievable getting rid of one, and you could spend command. Actually, it was 4, so you could spend command points and get rid of a card and pick up another card. Because otherwise, you and I had a game, and I got burned out on the first turn, and I couldn't achieve the secondary from the get go. Yeah. So stuff like that. So we were able to alleviate that a little bit, but I'm not a big fan of the cards. I think for one-off games, you can find ways to use the cards, and it can make games interesting. But overall, I just think Highlander was great with regards to mono codex. Yeah. But the card aspect, I just think the cards are a little bit of a miss for me. Even my opponents, guys, some of them weren't as familiar with how to discard. So I was telling them, if you can't do something, get rid of it. Don't forget to discard at the end of your turn. Don't forget to discard. That's on a table. Get rid of that. Trying to help them through it, because I think there was a lot of oh man, I can't do anything. What am I supposed to do? And I have to hang on to these cards because it's something I can do eventually. It's no man. If it's you think you can do it in turn 3 and you're on turn 1, fucking dump it. So I was trying to go through that kind of process with them. So if I have to do that, thinking about that, I wasn't there for the first 2 games for Christian. Yeah, exactly. And he's a newer guy. He doesn't play a lot of games, or he's not in maybe the scene as much. So while I'm able to help him through that, I wonder how his first 2 games would have maybe gone if he was thinking that way or had someone over his shoulder trying to enforce that kind of. So there's stuff like that. But overall, it was good. I like that space. Yes. Unfortunately, it was relatively hot in there. I don't think we would have been better off in that other room. A lot of people think that one would have been better, but when push comes to shove, the room we were in was bigger.
Yeah, I was
gonna say, it's a little higher up, so heat rises. But I don't think we would have. Our bodies in a smaller space.
I was so disappointed when we didn't get to hear people calling for meat draws.
I know
that was a key part of the experience for me, is listening to the meat draw announcements. So.
No, the space itself I like, my opponents were great. Mono codex, I like that change up. I wasn't a fan of BCP mucking up, But
That's fair.
but now we've come to find out that it's some people just didn't care to put in that unique password, and that was glitching.
Yeah.
That'll change
So
things.
it's like, yeah, so everyone needed to do that, but hindsight's 20.
Something to know for announcements next
Yeah,
time
exactly,
too. Like
exactly.
and just to get the word out.
But it's
'cause-
also why it's important to get all your sign-ins and stuff done
Yeah.
Yes.
before the event. You have the app, so we're gonna keep trying to reinforce that. But otherwise, yeah, like overall, I had a great time. I got to roll some dice. I had to call judges over because I didn't even rulings were some of even like the wordings on stuff were just wonky, and
You had a learning experience versus like in your first ever Necron mirror match. Can you tell me about that?
One of them was he had buffed using his I think it was an Overlord to give the squad a +1 to ballistic skill.
Okay, yeah.
But then he Veil of Darkness them over somewhere else on the table. And I had remembered reading about the orcs, and if they use the jump,
Oh, and they
lose the
buffs.
buffs.
Yeah.
So I was like, so do the Necrons lose it as well? It's literally the same thing. You're counting as leaving the table and deep striking back down somewhere else. And it found out it was, so I didn't know that, so which was kind of neat. So even though I'm in a mirror match and we both have the same army and we more or less had the same units, there was stuff like that it was still happening, and which is it's always fun, I guess. Like it just
You
keeps
learn
on
something
your
from every
toes.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. So that was cool, and Brad was a good guy. Like it was actually pretty funny to play against a mirror. Especially when you don't play a lot and Necrons are not popular at all. So
No.
you get all these
Except
things
at this
at
event.
once.
Like in
Yeah.
Echoes of Eternity Kill Team League, I had my first league game against Ben Shantz, who's the game manager or who's the store manager at Game Night Games and Cool Stuff. Go there; they're our presenting sponsor for the season.
Nice plug.
And thanks.
Smooth.
First time I've ever played a Tyranids mirror match, so I'm like, oh dear. Yeah, that's a lot of Hormagaunts. Getting up in
That
the
other
face.
way you could play.
Right?
And
No
it's
one
always-
plays Xenos.
And it's always funny. It's like, I know what these do, but yet why would I shoot this at them? That would have never done what I needed to. Why would I do that? I should know this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you still do it, and it's kind of
Why
weird.
am I so worried about
Yeah.
the thing? That I know they're paper tigers. They're gonna die. So speaking of armies that are forced to play with mono codices, although that's a change now because Jane Stealer cults came out, we got a lot of positive feedback about mono codex.
Overall, yeah.
How was the experience on the tables for you guys facing just single codex armies? I'll get to questions about army building with a single codex for you because I know we talked about a little bit about that in episode 1, but like facing mono codex, how did that change things up for you guys?
For me, it allowed for a little more of a. I remember just less of like a mind screw. Like it was just you were able to you see one army, you kind of get in a rhythm, you kind of start to see how that army plays and how things work, and you weren't worried like, okay, something else is going to drop in, or there's a second aspect to this because a whole other codex is about to come out. So there's none of that. So that was nice. I don't mind multiple faction armies, but for something like this, it was nice. It was a nice change.
Nice.
For me.
Oh, for me, well, it was interesting just because of who I ended up playing against. I started off against Salamanders, which was a super thematic army, but it also had a lot of the things you would never expect in a regular game, or those things you kind of sometimes see because it's what's in the person's collection. So it was 3 Thunderfire cannons and then 3 Dreadnoughts. And it's like, well, my Great Unclean One is gonna die right away. Oh wow, he made some saves. That worked out. But then my second game was against Pure Knights. So it was okay, the format I don't think affected that too much, except for maybe instead of fighting Pure Knights, I would have had some guardsmen on the table, which I would have preferred in that instance. But and then my last game, Corey I told him I was docking him a sportsmanship point right at the beginning. I didn't actually dock him a sportsmanship point, but I jokingly said I was docking him a sportsmanship point because well, and I've gotten a